This
You
is
do
great.
you. Okay.
Okay. So, and you've got your recording going. That's
Yes.
awesome. And I'll be giving you the video clips and everything that you can share as you wish,
Okay.
and the raw footage. So,
Thank you.
okay. I'm looking forward to it.
Here we go.
Here we go. Hi there, and welcome back to the I Am Mom podcast. I'm your host, Dimple Arora. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited to have this conversation. I brought on a really special guest to discuss the concept of coming into alignment with who you truly are at the soul level. We'll be diving into the ascension process and what it means to really embody a new experience here on this earth at this time. I encourage you to listen with curiosity today, with an open mind, an open heart. And I'm really honored and humbled to have Sheila Hill join us today. Sheila Hill is an intuitive life coach and a spiritual guide. She's guiding people back to their true authentic self in mind, body, and spirit. And as humanity is moving through the shift in consciousness, Sheila is a code holder, a way shower, and guide. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with her because she is so wise and so vast in her knowledge of what we need to know to make it through these times with less challenges and feeling more at ease with ourselves. Thank you so much for being here, Sheila. Welcome.
Thank you, Dimple. That was really nice. I'm sitting here going, wow, she said a lot of nice things about me. Who wrote that?
You know, all my guests feel so loved when they come onto my show. So there's so many places we can start with this conversation. And I know a lot of people are listening in because perhaps they're struggling. They've been on some sort of spiritual awakening and they've been hearing about different things happening astrologically. What exactly is happening? I mean, this might be a loaded question, but what exactly is happening on Earth during this time for us as humans?
Okay, so it is a loaded question, as all questions are when you ask me, but I will try and simplify the answer on this one. We live on a planetary body that is consciousness. Many call her Gaia. And she has dimensional fields of experience that are available. So if you are plugged into the third dimension, then the third dimension is then your experience. There is also, so fourth isn't an actual density. Fourth is just an energetic space, which we can talk more about if you'd like. And then we're moving into the fifth dimensional field. So if you just imagine that there's like a sphere that is the planet, and then there are these circles of dimensional fields that are upon her that are available based on your own inner frequency to tune into.
Yes.
Well, what's happening right now is that Earth, the consciousness that is Gaia, she goes through a 26,000 year cycle every 26,000 years. And we are ending a cycle now with her as a human civilization where she will no longer be hosting any third or fourth dimensional frequencies upon her, period.
Okay.
So this means that 5D,
Yeah.
some call it New Earth, some call it Ascended States. There's lots of names for it. 5D will now be the baseline for the human civilization and all humans living upon her. So what does that mean? As we deepen into the answer, is that we have all of the codes, programs, wounds, traumas, stories, and experiences held within our body that is in accordance with a third dimensional reality. We are the reality that we see out in the world. We are the projector, co-creator, and manifester of everything that we have as our experience in our human life. So if we are seeing, experiencing and having a third dimensional experience, it's because those programs are embedded within our body at a cellular level. Just the same way as trauma, as poverty consciousness, jealousy, fear, all of those things are programs that are held within the body. And then because they're held in the body and you are the projector of the reality, you project that into your experience. So to wrap up the answer to that question, what's happening is that humanity is being asked to awaken, to become conscious of the programs, the wounds, the traumas that they have in their body, so that they can be purged, cleared, and cleansed out of the body to make room for new codes for a new dimensional experience to be had.
I love it. And a beautiful answer to that loaded question. And so what we want to do, would you say, is to transmute these old programs, these old codes? Are they more attached to our ego self? Are we trying to move away from the ego self, or will we always have and carry the programs of the ego self?
So yes, all of the experiences are held in your cellular memory.
Yeah.
So everything from your childhood, and that's a whole other topic, but everything from your childhood to, you were standing in Tim Hortons yesterday and your body overheard a conversation that some other couple were having at the table next to you. Your body keeps score. It is the memory bank of all of your experiences. So yes, what we are doing is we are completely cleansing, transmuting our body from our ego identity and experience, everything that was attached to us when we were in our ego, oblivious to the fact that we were a soul having this experience and that we are so much more than even that. So it is a purging of the ego. However, the ego in its purest form is a part of the human design. So I know in a lot of spiritual communities, they talk about ego death and you got to kill the ego and that the ego's got to die and all of these horrific things that we think we need to do to the ego. When in actuality, what we're doing is we are purifying the ego and bringing it back into alignment with the soul so that it's no longer driving the bus.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. It's so enlightening to hear you say this, because some people feel like we have to just completely be egoless, get rid of the ego. But I feel like it will always maybe be a part of us, but not, you're right, not running the show for us.
Exactly.
So right now, I mean, I feel like people are having spiritual awakenings at different times. So what would you say, like, for some people who have had what they call a spiritual awakening in, maybe 10 years ago or 20 years ago, was that not in a 5D? Was that not on the 5D, in the 5D?
No. The energies that are the ascension energies have only been made available. Oh, see, now my mind wants to go back to a bigger story. Let's call August of 1987. The date, it's called the harmonic convergence. It was a global meditation. It was as of that point that it was then determined that the ascension was even going to happen. Okay. So from one perspective, as a galactic consciousness, Gaia has always been on this 26,000 year cycle. But then everything is multi-layered in answers and potentialities that are available. And it was with the harmonic convergence in 1987 that the light quotient on the planet, that dare say came from those that awoke before then, or awakened before then, that the light quotient on the planet reached like that 51% mark. Okay. That sort of opened another portal of availability to, okay, now we've narrowed down the field as to where humanity is headed with this. Okay. So people that have been awake, aware, healers, some were born that way. Some were born and never really fell into the amnesia as deeply as some of the rest of us did, myself included. They reached the ceiling of potential and frequency that was available for the time that was.
Okay. That's
okay.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
now that the energies are constantly up leveling in the ceiling, so to speak, and I'm speaking in metaphor, the ceiling of energies that are available now are moving up moment by moment. We are out of time, operating out of linear time more and more often now than ever before. So I do have a number of clients that I've worked with that are like, I've been at this for 30 years. Why am I coming to you now? And you're trying to tell me my inner child's not healed yet. Like, I've been doing this. And I'm like, but don't be offended that the energies that are available now is what is providing a higher, deeper level of awakening that is all being asked of everyone.
Asked of everyone. That's the
being
key.
Asked, and well, not every single one, but asked of those that are destined for this path at a soul level.
Okay, this is fascinating information. And so people have somehow had this spiritual awakening maybe a few years ago or whatever it was. This is a different experience now. So whatever's coming up is to help us embody more light. So you talk about this light quotient.
Yes.
So as a collective, as humanity, we have this light quotient. So you're saying now this light quotient is increasing because we're all embodying more light?
Yes.
That's what's happening?
Yes. So it's not about, the phrase bums in seats. It's not about boots on the ground. It's about each and every one of us embodying more and more light in every now moment that is contributing to the collective light quotient.
Okay. And what about the kids that are coming in right now that are being born? Are they they're coming into this 5D experience. So are they already light bodies?
They won't be necessarily fully in their light body. And maybe we need to unpack what our understanding is around that. But certainly the children, I would say the children, like any child under 5 for sure, they're coming in intact, what we call intact.
Amazing.
So they won't ever really grow a wounded ego structure the way us adults have all had to work through. Many of them that are from other star systems have brought their connection and their gifts and their language with them. Many of them remember their past lives. They are the example that we have, the closest example we have to what an ascended 5th dimensional being and beyond is in a human body. These kids are absolutely magical.
So magical. And this is why conscious parenting is so on the rise, because I really believe that instead of us being the teachers, that they're coming in to teach us.
Absolutely.
And I feel like when we let these children who are so wise and so tuned into their bodies and so aware and so mindful, when we allow them to lead without us projecting all of our programs onto them, they can really flourish as humanity, but also nourish us in so many ways and help us to embody more of this light that we're trying to have.
These children, it's always a soul contract. So you chose them and they chose you.
I love it.
And many of them will be coming in to hold space for their parent to go through the awakening process, even when they're little. And that's the whole thing about the conscious parenting piece, is that we need to, well, I mean, not me, those days are past, but we need to
you have these 2 beautiful grown children, which is amazing. Which is amazing.
To mentor them and relate with them as the soul that they are, and not look at them as helpless human beings just because they're in a small body.
Yes.
These are very high dimensional. I mean, not that there's a higher or lower, but these are high frequency, high dimensional beings that have waited to be born onto this planet at this time because they didn't want to be a part of the old movie.
Yeah. And we're experiencing a lot of, would you say there's more deaths, or is it just something that seems like an illusion? Because are we experiencing more deaths? And if so, is it because those souls are not meant to be part of this new fifth dimension?
Yes. And there's a bigger quantum answer to that, if you want to go there.
Sure.
But yes, not all. So at a soul level, before you come in, you sit with your contract and you make all the decisions, right? I'm going to be a girl, or I'm going to be a boy, and I'm going to be white, or I'm going to be brown, or I'm going to live here in the world. I want to experience poverty. I want to experience not poverty, whatever, right? So
I don't know why I didn't pick a hot country.
So you pick all your stuff, and then there's stuff like your karmic contracts and things that you need to deal with.
Yes.
So there are those souls that came to be a part of the third dimensional experience, to dive deep into amnesia, to dive deep into what we call the matrix, to get lost in all of it. And then also to have the miraculous, yes, it is miraculous, as hard as it is, experience of going through the multiple awakening processes and embodiment processes that bring you back home to who you really are. And that is the ascension process. And that is a coding that is held within the DNA. So not every single human on the planet right now holds that as a part of their contract, nor do they hold that coding within their DNA to be able to hold and experience that type of experience.
Okay.
Because it's frequency.
Yes.
Right? So if someone who was born here to be human, to have this human experience, to go through certain karmic contracts, whatever it is that they came for their own soul's evolution and growth, they may not hold the code within their DNA that they're here to go through the awakening and the ascension process and still take their physical body and personality with them into 5D.
Okay.
They may pass on and come back in 5D. They may pass on and go and have another experience somewhere else.
Yes.
But not every single person that's on the planet right now is meant to be a part of this. And those that are will be drawn to it naturally by their higher self.
Okay. So you did mention this ascension process now that we're all going through. Now, there are quite a few symptoms that occur when we're having this ascension process. I mean, these symptoms, they could be physical or emotional or spiritual. And sometimes you don't know, because sometimes you may feel like you're so sick and you have to go to the doctor, and really somebody who's more spiritual will just say, you're just having some ascension symptoms. So can we talk a little bit about what the ascension process may look like for somebody? And also, I do want to go into later on about this, when people are having a very challenging time and this dark night of the soul, they call it. I want to talk about that as well. But let's talk about some of these ascension symptoms. Like, what does this process look like? How do you even know that you're going through a process?
Okay. So the awakening process is one road and ascension is another. Although they both lead, well, they don't both lead. The awakening part doesn't always lead to ascension, but the two are very intertwined in experience.
Yes.
So the awakening experience isn't just one awakening. You don't just have a spiritual awakening. You awaken into, the metaphor that I use is like you awaken to the fact that there's a ladder in front of you. And you're like, wow, gee, there's a ladder and it goes up. What's up there? And then you just start climbing the ladder. You awaken from all different perspectives and realms. What is the 3D matrix? What have we been a part of? What has gone on there that we didn't know about? Who am I and who am I really? You mean I'm not just Sheila? Like all of those things, right? It can come at you from whatever direction your soul design and plan has made for you. But the awakening is an awakening of consciousness and the conscious self. That's where the awakening process is. So many people awaken and they know tons of stuff. but they don't necessarily embody it vibrationally into their body as a code, like a computer program code.
Mhm.
And then you need to awaken to something, embody it, go from the mind into the body, and then
Yes.
enact upon it as your experience.
Exactly. Yes.
Right? So love versus fear, for example, we can
Mhm.
awaken to the fact, wow, I'm playing in a lot of fear programs, or I'm afraid of this person, or I'm afraid of doing podcasts with people. There's a fear program running. Well, I understand that the opposite of fear is love. That's interesting as a knowing, but what do you do with that? Do you
Yes.
start to embody more love and start taking more actions in your life that are less about fear and more about love? That's the embodiment process. So you can be awake and aware and spiritual, and you could be on this train for years and years and years and years. But if you aren't embodying that into your body as a code, as a frequency that your body at a cellular level now holds, and then acting upon it in the way that you live your life, it's just information.
Yes. So it's almost like walking your talk or walking this new awareness
Yes.
and
And
embodying it
it's,
and being that, right? So being that of what you become aware of. And also I feel like a lot of people just say, "Oh, I'm on this healing journey and I'm on this healing journey and I'm on this healing journey." So is the ascension process essentially a healing journey, or at some point can we say, you know what, I feel really healed and I feel really clear and I feel really good, and I'm just going to be present in this moment and enjoy this life experience?
yes and no. So I agree with you because I've been on this path for like 11 years now, healing myself from all sorts of different things. And
Same.
there tends to be a connotation around the idea of healing.
Yes.
Healing means that you're sick. Healing means you're broken. And then if
Mhm.
you're perpetually in this space of I need to heal, then you're perpetually always looking at how broken you are.
Yeah.
So and that can be like a little, that's an icky thing, an icky space to be in. So while there are parts of you that need to be healed, childhood trauma, abandonment issues, wounds and things like that, that do actually need to be healed, you could look at it all through an entirely like observatory lens. That it's not healing because I'm sick or broken. It's just, oh, I had some experiences that are a frequency that are held within my body that are always dissolving, releasing, and transmuting. This is the evolution process. It's like defragging your computer or clearing your cookies. It's the same thing. So if it feels more expansive and more empowering for you to look at your journey, your healing journey,
Mm.
from a perspective of, well, I don't actually need to heal because I'm not broken, but I
Mhm.
do understand that I may have some triggers, some wounds, some traumas and programs in my body that are always looking to up level themselves. And if they're outdated, they need to go.
Exactly. Evolutionary process, but I feel like I love that word up level because it's like, yeah, I'm just up leveling in this area of my life. So for example, maybe prosperity consciousness. And so up leveling that area of my life. So it's very it's actually, but it's a fascinating journey to be on. But so some people are going through very challenging times right now.
Yes.
Their lives look very different than they did maybe a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Things have fallen apart. People feel like their lives, when they say, are falling apart and they have to rebuild. So let's talk a little bit about what we call the dark night of the soul.
Okay.
So the dark night of the soul, how does it fit into this ascension process?
Okay. So so we talked about the awakening versus ascension.
Yes.
The ascension process is where you are embodying the frequency of the new consciousness that you've become aware of.
Okay.
And as it moves in through your various fields, through your auric field and into your body at a cellular level, it's going to toss out anything that's held in your cellular memory that is not of the frequency that's going in, right? The frequency of light that we're receiving is always a higher frequency than where we're at, because that's the point. And as it comes into the body, it has a higher vibration and a faster spin than what your body's already holding as an energy. It moves its way into the cells and then shoots out of the cell anything that doesn't go, which is your wounds, your traumas, your programs, all of those things that keep you anchored in the identity and keep you anchored in the third dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Back to what we talked about at the beginning. You are the matrix projector of your experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where ascension symptoms come from. But it's also, it plays out in your outer reality first to get your attention, in that maybe you're in a marriage that's not working, and it's not working because the soul contract expired years ago, and you and your ego identity and your fear story around being alone or being a failure or whatever it is that you hold as the ideation that you can't leave this relationship, you stayed. But we're reaching a point now where these karmic contracts, where the soul contract is complete and your soul is looking to engage in other forms of experience with other people,
Mm-hmm.
the soul is standing up now and going, time is up. Like, I asked for this to be over years ago and you didn't, and now it's the fall apart.
Oh, wow.
And that can be a marital relationship, that can be a friendship, sometimes it's family members, it can be your job. You know, like many of us that are a little bit older, we were brought up that you go to school, you go to university, you get a degree, you get a career, you work till you're 65.
Yes.
We don't do that. That was never supposed to be a thing. Never supposed to be a thing. So, you know, there are many, many people that are having this "my whole life is falling apart" experience, because the awakening is dividing families right now.
Yeah.
And that is tragic. The energies coming onto the planet are making you feel like weird, different, discombobulated a lot of the time. And all of these old paradigms that is the products of the old you and your old beingness are starting to ask to be let go of, so that they can be dismantled, to make room for the new version of you and the new timeline and the new access that you will have to a new experience to come in. So the dark night of the soul isn't actually anything to do with, well, not even really darkness, but it's got nothing to do with the soul. The soul knows and has always known exactly what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's cheering for this experience to come into place. What's happening is it's like a dark night of the ego. The ego that is attached to the identity, attached to the reality, attached to the relationship, the job, the experience, that is, as the experience or the relationship starts to dissolve, the ego freaks out.
Yes, you explain things so beautifully and so articulately that it just makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. And when you look at it that way, it's refreshing to look at it that way.
Not easy to go through, though. I went through it.
No,
it's
not easy
to go through.
Not easy to go through. And some of them, go ahead.
Sorry, you go through a few of them. Like, there isn't just one night of the dark night of the soul and you're like, whew, I survived. I'm good. No, I never have to do that again. There's typically a few of them. But the dark night of the soul, for those that are kind of maybe not even familiar with that phrase, I am referencing that it is actually the ego that is going through its darkness, not the soul. But it can look like depression, apathy, tons of grief, tons and tons of grief, detachment from reality, from your life, you know, again, sort of that depression thing. And honestly, the only way out is through.
Yes.
What I call that is your human garage sale. When you go through a dark night of the soul, you know, when you're in a constant state of shifting energy within your body and your experience and shifting your reality, and it's all just kind of like this slow kind of turning of the dial, none of it is very jarring or alarming. But sometimes the soul just stands up and says, we're cleaning fucking.
Yeah. Oh, no worries.
Oh dear.
We
We're
allow
cleaning-
swearing on this podcast.
Okay. Okay. We're cleaning house. And when the soul decides that there's a massive like house cleaning that needs to be done in your body, in your field, and in your experience, it's like your cells are all having a garage sale all at once.
Exactly. So there's
all the density, all the emotion, all the grief, it's all just coming up all at once.
it's that density, right, that we're trying to get rid of. And I find it's coming through forms of like maybe headache and lots of fatigue. People are extra tired, and a lot of, I guess, digestive problems. And I mean, aches and pains. There's so many things. And a lot of people feel like, oh, wow, I'm going through this perimenopause and I'm going through this menopause, where maybe they're just having these ascension symptoms.
Okay. So aging is a
Yes.
program. Aging is a program. We don't have to age. We were never meant to. Menopause, another program. There are so many programs that we as human beings just took on board. Like, well, that's just how it goes to be human. No, you don't have to do that. So
that whole menopause program, I'm just not buying it, because I've just already decided that's not going to be my experience.
No.
Right? It's not going to be this difficult, traumatic, ending of my my cycle. I just feel like I'm not buying that.
Nope, you don't have to. So the more physical ascension symptoms, so moving past sort of the dark night of the soul piece, which feels very, very emotionally heavy. When you start getting physical ascension symptoms, the headaches, the digestive issues, the aches and pains in the body, the extreme fatigue, not being able to sleep, like all of those varying, and I'm only naming a couple, like it goes on and on and on and on. What that is that the light quotient in the body is bumping up against density. Yeah. So we have pockets of density where we hold programs, where we hold trauma from this life, like maybe you broke an ankle or something, but also trauma from our past lives as well, that are all being pushed through this awake and aware being that you are, that you're the ascending one.
This physical body. The
physical body is going through it. So when you think about people that are aware of like doing like liver cleanses and detoxing and, things like that, like I juice to help my body detox. Well, when you're going through the ascension process and you're in your phases of embodiment where you're actually bringing knowledge codes and frequencies into the body. And I dare say it's a bit of both. It's not one road completes and then you do the other road. You bounce back and forth between awakening and embodiment. But your body is in a constant state of detoxification. It is very, very, very heavy on the body, because now I'm not even sure if I'm using the right phrase, but this is the word I use. Like free radicals are always in the body because your cells are always releasing and integrating more light. So it pushes on your digestive system, your liver, your kidneys, your lymphatic system. We have to get it out, whether we cry it out, sweat it out, sleep it out, bodily function it out. Yes. The body is always seeking to find its ability to detox. Yes. Because it also knows what it's doing. So hydration and good hydration, meaning good quality water, lots of fruits and vegetables, is key to helping support the body with this. And it's got nothing to do with calories and nutrition. And like, I don't go there with that stuff. It's really just about supporting the body.
Wow. And so so you're saying eating well, hydrating well, sleeping when we need to. What are some of the other techniques and tools that people can use during this time to help them overcome the challenges that they're facing physically and the emotions that come up at this time? I mean, I love to use techniques like tapping and EFT to help move energy through the body and help to work with some of those old programs. I love it. But what are some of the other tools? And are we using outdated tools? Do we need new tools at this point? What's happening there?
Okay. So I always say that there's no way to get it wrong and literally a million ways to get it right. So whatever speaks to you, whatever path you're on, whatever road your soul has taken to get you to here, where whatever it is that you're watching this or listening, it's perfect. It's perfect. So being mindful of what the body needs, again, really good quality hydration water. You may want to look into structured water.
Yes.
Epsom salt baths for the win. That just really helps with the body aches and pains. Supporting yourself without allowing all of the self-judgment and the narratives that are a part of the old program. You know, like, I don't wake up with an alarm clock. I wake up when I wake up, because when I'm supposed to wake up is when I come back into my body from doing whatever else I was doing. Like, you know, I go to bed when I'm tired. And sometimes that's at 2 PM and I'll go, I'm just going to lay down for half an hour, and I wake up and it's 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, you really have to understand that this is a body intense process. So anything that you can do to support the body, light stretching, exercise in whatever way that you call exercising is fine. Dance, stretch, yoga, go for a walk, doesn't matter. But really honor the body's need to help to move in order to move the energy. Diet things will come and go. There will be times where your body needs a lot of sugar because it needs resources fast. You may be going through an integration process that is so intensive on the body that it's like, I need resources and I need fast fuel, which is sugar.
Amazing.
So you have to let go of the idea that refined sugar or anything sugary is bad for you.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting one, because I'm always wondering why my daughter's become such a sugar monster.
Well,
and I used to be such a sugar addict. So, I mean, that's a big fear of mine, right? Is like, oh, you're going to grow yeast and you're going to ruin your gut, and, you know, big program there for me. But how does somebody know then that this is part of an ascension process, or do they have a mental health issue that needs to be addressed, or a physical issue that needs to be addressed?
Okay. I'm going to come back to that because I want to talk about some of the other tools that are more emotionally related, and then we'll come back because that's a really good question as well. So that sort of deals with the body stuff. The more emotional stuff that you're feeling, you're angry, you're jealous, you're grieving, you're pissed off at your life, whatever it is, first and foremost, try when you can to remember that it's just energy. What will happen is the energy is released from the body. So say grief, for example, light comes into the body, you're holding a lot of grief in your cells, and it releases into the body to be detoxed. The relationship between the mind and the body is that they are connected and in conversation with each other, right? The bladder says I'm full, and it tells the mind go to the bathroom. So the same thing happens with this ascension process, is that the body releases an energy of anger or grief. And then the mind goes, oh, we're grieving. What are we grieving about? And then it comes up with a story. Or we're angry. What are we angry about? Oh, well, my husband said that thing to me this morning. And before you know it, you're picking a fight with your partner when it had nothing to do with that. It was just that your body was going through a detox and the mind picked up on it. So really understanding that this is energy at play, really going, okay, so I'm angry. Let's unpack that. You unpack it with yourself. Am I really angry about what my husband said this morning? Well, no, normally that wouldn't bother me. He says it all the time. Okay, so what is the anger? Oh, it's an energy in my body. So understanding that, sometimes just having that awareness will help dissolve the intensity. The other piece that I want to speak to is like toxic positivity and toxic spirituality, and the ideation around it's all love and light, because it's not love and light when you're going
absolutely not.
Absolutely, it is not. So to courageously sit down with your journal and just go, yeah, I'm mad today, and go, and these are all the things I'm mad at, and this is what I wish I could say to so and so, and swear and underline, and like rip the page if you need to, like dive into whatever it is that you feel that is coming up, because all it is a bubble of energy that is asking to be dispelled.
Mm-hmm.
So if you try and go, well, that's not very love and light, you're squishing it down. And if you go, well, that's not very positive, I'm angry, but I'm going to choose joy and try and override the program, you're just shoving it down. You're not actually healing, resolving, or releasing it. You're just shoving it down. And we all know what happens when density is held in the body. That is where disease comes from. So just courageously be where you're at. Don't project it onto people and don't spray your crap all over the walls everywhere, but just courageously go, yeah, I'm not doing people today because I'm like in a sour mood, and I'm going to journal, and then I'm going to go for a walk, and then I'm going to have a nap, and I'm going to have a salt bath, and we're going to call it a day. I've done that a gajillion times, because that's how you do, that is mastery.
That is mastery, because it's allowing us to be, allowing us to feel, and allowing us to really embody what we're feeling, which is okay. I mean, it's okay to not be love and light all the time. I always tell people this, and especially when people want kids to be on their best behavior all the time. Why should that child be on their best behavior all the time? They're going to have emotions. They're going to have explosions. They're going to have big feelings just like we do.
Exactly.
And we're so hard on those little beings.
Exactly. I'll hear a child having a tantrum in Costco sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, I'm with you, honey. Like in my head, I'm like, that's how my insides feel right now. I got to go home.
Exactly. Especially in Costco.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh,
Dimple,
yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but I actually put one of your questions on hold because I wanted to get to that. And now I
Yes.
can't remember.
And now I can't remember what it was, but it was, oh yeah, how do we know that it's not a physical
Right.
mental health issue, that we need professional help? How do we know that it's ascension and not something else? And I know a lot of times, and it has happened to me back when I was more concerned about my health, is I used to go doctor to doctor, oh, we can't find anything wrong. We can't, it must be in your head. What's going on? And then now over the years, I've realized like, wow, I've just been decoding and embodying all this other stuff and really changing my body at a cellular level, which has been fascinating to me. And it's been a fascinating journey. Now I don't run to the doctor for anything.
Yeah.
And so I've really learned how to work with my body at this time. So how does somebody know when to get professional help?
The fullest answer is you're not going to know. We are walking a very wobbly gray line between being human and being superhuman. So if at any point in time you either have a concern, a fear, or a guttural feeling that maybe something should be checked, get it checked. The bigger answer is that we are here to come into full alignment and relationship with our body, which has been left out of the process most of our lives, right? So as you maybe tick something off the list going, okay, these headaches aren't a brain tumor. So now I know that I need to hydrate more, rest more, honor my body more. And when the energies feel really intense, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to rush to the doctor this time. I'm going to do my things that I know support my body. And you find you have less and less headaches because you're doing the right behaviors at the right time. That's how you operate with the ascension process. At the end of the day, all forms of mental illness, as we know them and understand them, are just corrupted programs in the body. Whether that comes out as a chemical imbalance, whether that comes out as more like fractalized behavior, whether that comes out as depression, anxiety, it goes on and on and on. Many of the people that are neurodiverse, they have a propensity to have mental health challenges as we see it through the lens of a third dimensional person. And what it actually is for many of the neurodiverse is they're already wired to operate from there, not from here.
Yes.
That's really what's going on. So from a higher perspective, I would say, with many caveats, that most mental health issues and challenges all have, like, it's not a real thing. Like, it's all still about the soul trying to re-engage itself into your reality. And then your reality is pushing against it. Your wounds and traumas are pushing against it. Your family may be pushing against it. Society and societal norms may be pushing against it. And this is where we call this discordance mental illness.
Yes.
But I'm not entirely sure. And I come from a background with lots of depression and anxiety in my own experience and in my family. So I do have some cred to be able to say, I'm not sure it's actually really a thing. However, if you need support in more traditional ways, don't shame yourself for that. Don't judge yourself for maybe needing medication or traditional therapy. Whatever you need to do in order to start to merge the old you with the new you need to be gentle with yourself and allow that process to unfold for you, because your journey is unique. The other layer to that is that traditional therapy and third dimensional science, which is the medicine that we operate from now, it hasn't caught up with the quantum physics of the ascension of a process. So you go to a doctor and you get a CAT scan and a blood test and all these other things, and it all comes back, there's nothing going on with you. It's because there's a higher vibrational thing going on with you that their systems, ways, and understandings don't pick up on.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. That was a great explanation of that. Now, let's talk about some of the fun things that happen during this ascension process. Things like the synchronicities or the heightened intuition. And I always tell people, if you just tune into your day, you'll notice all these beautiful signs and things that happen that are guiding you on this amazing journey. And once they start tuning in, they're so fascinating, because that's an amazing way to live and navigate this time, is to just notice how supported we actually are.
Yes. So the more present that you become, because that's where the power is, that's where alignment is, that's where connection with your soul, with divinity, with God source consciousness, with the universe, it all happens in the present moment.
Yes.
Right? So when you think about how humans are trained to be, it's all about what just happened and what's going to happen. Always.
The past and the future.
It's always that. Skips over the present. So that's because our power, our greatest power, is in the present moment. So the more present that you are, the more that you are going to tune into and be available as a human to see and experience all the synchronicities, which is actually you, that next version of you, going, psst, when we turn around the corner, look at the clock, it'll be 11:11. And then you look around the corner and you're like, oh, look, it's 11:11, look at me. It's actually you. It's that whole quantum nature of this experience, is that you are giving yourself a heads up in a way of saying, keep going, you're doing amazing, by planting these synchronicities, and then the future you kind of calling back, going, it's going to be there when you get there.
It's so
and
nice.
That is so incredibly magical. And the magic just continues to grow from there.
It really does. It really does. And then you just feel so much more when you start to feel expansive, because you're allowing yourself to have the expansion. And so that feeling of being contracted kind of, it could come, but not as often.
Yes. Yes.
So what would you say to somebody right now who may feel like everybody that they care about, who is toxic in their life, is falling away, and they're so concerned that they're losing their family members, they can't tolerate this person anymore, they are nobody loves them, they're not accepted, they're the black sheep of their family? What would you say to a person who's actually going through an ascension or an embodying of more light or a spiritual awakening, but their family and everybody around them is just disappearing, and they're in this blame state where they're blaming everyone around them. What would you say? What advice would you give to a person who's going through that?
Okay. So from the highest perspective, and then we'll bring it down. From the highest perspective, being that you designed for yourself to go through this awakening and embodiment process is the most miraculous, beautiful, divine honor that you can go through. So pause and breathe that into your body, that it actually is an honor. And everyone that is outside of you, be it your parents, your children, your partner, whoever it is, they are all actually just actors in your play. You are the spark of the God source creator consciousness that is the experiencer and the writer of the script of your experience. Now, I know all of these words are high and it's high talk about this. We're coming down. So when you look at yourself, start working on practicing, seeing yourself as the God source creator of your experience. So you as the God spark are having your unique individual experience that has hired other actors to be a part of your play in order to catalyze your growth and your evolution into the higher states of being, which we call the Ascension 5D, right? So when you are engaging with family members that are highly judgmental of you and your choices, for example, the highest ask is, where am I judging myself? Where am I not in full acceptance of who I am and the choices that I'm making? Because we don't wobble with what we know. What we hold as truth in our body. Like if you said to me, Sheila, your name's actually Kathy, that wouldn't trigger me. It wouldn't trigger me in the least. It wouldn't bother me. I'd be like, well, whatever, Dimple. Like, you want to believe I'm Kathy? Go for it. Because I know I'm Sheila and that's all that really matters. And I don't need to fight for it. I don't need to defend it. I don't, right? Like, so we only wobble when it's something within us that is a gap that the soul is asking for us to fill that gap with more of our own love, our own acceptance, our own divinity. So everyone outside of us, there's been a lot in the last 3 years of people trying to wake other people up and people going, I can't believe they can't see what's actually going on, and all of those kinds of things. And in actuality, it has been one big divine play that has played out that has triggered those that needed to be triggered in order to heal or dissolve that aspect of themselves. Everybody's just doing, there's no toxic people in this world. Everybody's just doing themselves. And if you call in an experience with someone that you feel your experience with them is toxic, it's because your soul is asking for you to look at something for you to grow and heal and dissolve. And then those relationships will either shift into something that you can deem less toxic, or that person will have done their job as the role that they came to play in your life, and they'll go and carry on with their life, and you're free to carry on with yours. It needs to be viewed from more of a space of self-responsibility. What is my soul asking of me that this is what's being presented in my face right now? And not playing the blame game and but they said this and you said that and this hurt my feelings, and right? Once you step onto the platform that you are going on the elevator up to 5D, every single thing that happens in your experience is for you to get you to that ultimate goal and beyond. So the self-responsibility piece is really important. And from there, you can shift it into love. From there, you can be cranky, you can be triggered, you can be pissed off at the whole situation. You can move through that, dissolve what it is within you that is asking to be dissolved, and then circle back. And you don't have to do this with the actual person, but you can circle back within yourself and go, wow, now I understand from a full, whole, completed circle what that situation was all about, what it taught me, where it brought me to, I am grateful. And from there, you're in your mastery again.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I love the accountability piece of bringing it back to ourselves. And all the people in our lives are just these beautiful catalysts to help us grow, help us on this journey. And I love the way that you put it. And of course, turning it into love when we're able to embody that love within ourselves and for ourselves, transmute that density or whatever is being asked of us that's come from the catalyst of this person, this experience with this person. And it really is. And then you come to this point where you just have this massive compassion for these people who have helped you to grow. Some
Yes.
people may come to this point where there's so much love and compassion for the person that has actually hurt you the most. And you realize how they've helped you grow, and maybe possibly letting them go or not has been, is really the honor of your growth. It's hard to explain to somebody when they're going through
Yes.
such a difficult, challenging relationship.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that in majority, if not all of the cases, it's been a true blessing in disguise.
Because human nature is such that we learn through adversity. That's just the human design, right? We don't learn a whole lot when we're having fun, you don't go, oh my God, I'm learning so much, right? That doesn't happen. We learn through adversity. So if you could just narrow everything that we're all here to do in all the different ways that we chose to design our experience here, is that we are returning back to love. To ourself as love, to the frequency of love, to God source creator as love. That only love exists, and then there's varying degrees and ways that plays out. So what perfect way to teach a human about love than to surround themselves with what is not? That's how you find your way back home.
So beautiful, Sheila. I love what you've said in this conversation. You brought so much wisdom, and the way that you explained everything, so easy for our listeners to grasp and digest. And I know we covered so much, and we could probably talk for days about this topic, but I love the fact that you actually have a membership group where you do talk every week with your group, and you do discuss a lot of this stuff. Can you tell us more about your membership group and how our audience can find you?
Sure. So everything that is me is on my website, and it's sheilahill.ca. So that's easy peasy. That'll get you to my YouTube, my blogs, my Facebook community, all kinds of things. I do one-on-one sessions, and I do also have a monthly membership Patreon group where we meet 4 times a month, different times to catch all the time zones. And we talk about the energies that are current. What did we just go through? Where are the energies coming in the next week or so? And what's going on? So they're like, if you don't mind being in a group dynamic, it's a closed private group, of course, and you are willing to share whatever you are being challenged with from week to week, you don't ever need to do a one-on-one session with me or anyone else ever again, so to speak. You have that opportunity to say, you know what really came up for me this week? I had a lot of jealousy, and you can share the story as to why it came or why it didn't or whatever, and I will help coach and guide you through it. The beautiful piece about being in a group dynamic is that the more that each of the group members are willing to share from that vulnerable space, knowing that at the end of the day, there is no shame and there is no judgment. This is just energy. This is just energy at play. That when you are willing to be vulnerable and transparent within the group dynamic, other people are able to learn from your experience and go, oh, I had that too, and I didn't even know what it was. Or, that information Sheila shared, that's helpful for me too, because I can apply it here. So it's a beautiful group dynamic. Sometimes we do intuition games. Sometimes I'll do a guided meditation. I give them tools. somebody's watched a movie, read a book somewhere, and they're like, hey, can you tell me about like the quantum string theory? And I'm like, sure, we can talk about that. So it's just a really great space to just gather, to keep yourself accountable, to stay plugged into your own spiritual and ascension path, and to feel supported by the group and by someone who's just a little bit ahead.
I love it. And what a great idea to have that membership group, because sometimes as we're going through this process or we're embodying more of the 5D experience, we could feel somewhat displaced.
It's a very lonely process.
Yes, out in society. And it's hard to find people that you can resonate with sometimes, who understand or who have some of the experiences and knowledge that you're having about this. There's actually, I know I was heading towards ending the conversation, but I did want to ask you about this, is how much does astrology come into play here of what's going on in the world and what's going on with a person? So could their astrological chart, for example, be influencing their experience?
So all of it applies. Every single part of all of it, because it's all consciousness at play. So when your soul decided to become a human being, you chose your birth date and hour, really, because that's the astrological imprint or the stamp of where all other forms of consciousness were when your consciousness came here to be born. It goes way beyond your sun sign, right? Like,
Yes.
And I'm not an astrologer, so I'm not even good with all the language, but it's all the houses and the transits and all the things where it's your full chart that is the intention and sort of the blueprint of what your experience has the potentials to be. It's just a template. It doesn't mean that you're going to absolutely do this or that or have any other experience. It's here's the petri dish, here's the energetic availability that is going to be a part of your life. What you do with it when you get here is up to you. So that is a part of it on an individual level. All of the planetary astrological influences that we're going through right now with the ascension process, and I dare say it's always been in play, are all highly supportive of where we're going. And again, I'm not an astrology person. I follow it from the needs of being a way shower in the ascension process, but I don't have myself plugged into astrology. But, like Saturn being in Pisces, which we're in right now until February 2026, that is a huge energetic potential that is going to play out however it's going to need to play out, but it's all about truth. And so much more. So to say that astrology inside and outside your individual and the greater planetary astrology, it all has an effect. It's all consciousness that creates an energetic template for humanity to move through. So it's all true, it's all real, it all has an influence.
Yes. I love astrology, and in our culture, we follow Vedic astrology, and I do find that it's absolutely accurate many times. And you're right; it's the tendencies that can show up in your life. It's the blueprint, not necessarily that that can happen or this is gonna be a certain way, but it's the influence of the planets that can guide us and where we're going. And so I am fascinated by it. And it's very interesting because when I was younger, I went through a period, in Vedic astrology, they call it Rahu. I don't know what it's called in Western astrology, but it's a very difficult time. And it's a time sometimes where you move and you transition from one place to the other. And it can also mean health obstacles, sickness, things like that. And I found out after the fact that, oh, wow, I had been going through this Rahu period for like 20 years, right?
So in traditional, well, maybe I shouldn't call it traditional. I don't know. I'm aware of Vedic. I don't know what the other one is called that most people go with. That's called your Saturn return.
Oh.
The Saturn return is where stuff gets ripped open and stuff goes sideways, and you're asked to sort of really reflect on your life and look at it. And yeah, that's the Saturn return.
So that's
That's sort of what we're talking about now on a collective scale. Is the collective are going to be going through their Saturn return.
Amazing. Amazing. Sheila, this has been so fascinating. And I want you to leave our listeners with any words of wisdom on how can they navigate this time? Like they're coming into alignment with their true self. What do you want to leave our listeners with on the concept of really coming home to ourselves?
Okay. Just sort of tuning in to see what the best answer is. The ego would have you believe that you are here to attain success, materiality, fortune, partnerships, whatever. And then when you go through the awakening process and you're aware that you are more and that more is available and that everything is more than what you knew, there's this propensity for spiritual people to start to ask, well, what's my soul mission? Well, what's my purpose? Well, what am I here to do? Well, I'm a light worker. So does that mean I'm going to heal people? Is that what am I doing? Why am I here? And my message to you is that you being here is all you ever had to do. For you to be here and to stand in the light of your own truth, whether you are gardening, going for a walk, flipping burgers at McDonald's, none of that actually matters. You being here and being your being is all that ever mattered. So go gently. Allow that needs to fall away to fall away. Learn how to love yourself when you're being shitty, when it's heavy and when it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And know that you are the most magical being. For being here, for being courageous, for going through this. There is no goal but to be gentle and to return to love over and over and over again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sheila. That was just heartfelt, beautiful words of truth. I completely felt that on every level. And I am so grateful that we had this conversation. And it's really an honor to be in your presence, to have you here as a guide and to have your wisdom upon us today. It's such a pleasure. Thank you so much to our listeners. We've covered so much, and I hope that it was enlightening for you. And please send your questions to Sheila. She has an amazing also Facebook group. Everything is on her website, sheilahill.ca. And Sheila, I can't thank you enough for sharing the space with us today. It's been such a beautiful conversation, and I've always wanted to have this type of conversation on the podcast. So thank you, and have the most beautiful day, everyone. And we will talk to you next week. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.